Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. I am so excited about today's video. This has become one of my favorite videos to prepare for and film for the last couple of years because it is my anticipated reads for the next 3 months. It's become something that I really look forward to, spending time looking on Goodreads and Googling and just kind of looking around on NetGalley and other places online to see what books are coming out for the next quarter. So today I'm going to be talking about books that are coming out in October, November, and December, and I have quite the mixed bag for you today. I have some mystery, some romance, a YA horror, a Christian fiction, a little bit of everything. We're going to start right off with the beginning of October and go through chronologically, and I have 13 books to share with you today. These are obviously not all the books that are coming out. These are just the ones that I'm the most looking forward to. If you're looking for more fantasy, thriller, darker books, this is not going to be the list for you, but let me tell you what is on my list. The first one I actually have a copy of is coming out on October 1st, Spectres in the Glass House by Jamie Jo Wright. I filled out a form with Baker Publishing Group and asked for some finished copies of a few books that are coming out that I'm really excited, and they sent me a couple. So I do have Spectres in the Glass House by Jamie Jo Wright. This is a dual timeline narrative, as always, with about 100 years in between the two timelines. It's Christian fiction, and it's going to be suspenseful and pretty intense, if it's anything like the rest of the books that she has written. I absolutely love Jamie Jo Wright and want to read everything that she's written, including this one. The past timeline in this one takes place in the 1920s. We follow Marion, who is the heiress to this brewing baron's estate empire. She seeks solace in this glass butterfly house on her family's Wisconsin estate. And while in there, she starts having these nightmarish type of visions or specters showing up, and she is kind of grappling with this line of what's reality and what is dream. And then there's the serial killer, and dead butterflies are like the signature of this serial killer. I'm not exactly sure what happens, but there's dead butterflies, there's a serial killer. And then in the present day timeline, we follow a woman named Remy who becomes entangled in an elderly biographer's quest to uncover the truth behind Marion Arnold's mysterious life and the unsolved murders linked to an infamous serial killer. Yikes. I have loved Jamie Jo Wright in the past, and I am sure I'm going to love this one as well. And how perfect, kicking off this final quarter of the year with something intense and kind of creepy. Perfect for October, for those who like those kind of reads in October. The other book coming out October 1st that I had requested and received is Brave. This is by Misu Andrews. This is an author that I've heard a lot about, especially from Christian booktubers like Katie from Paperbacks and Ponytails, but not one that I've ever read. This is a biblical fiction. It's the start of a series called King David's Brides. In this first one, we're going to follow Ahinoam, who is King David in the Bible, his first wife, I believe. And I don't really need to know more than that. I do know that Katie and Maddie, I think, is one of the co-hosts of Journey Through the Bible in October. They have chosen this as their group read, so hopefully I will get to this in October. It's been a while since I've read some biblical fiction, and I've never read anything about the wives of David. It would be interesting to get an interpretation of King David's early adulthood from a female perspective. I think that sounds really good. The next one I have is a YA fantasy by an author that I've read before, and I'm very eager to kind of reread and finish the series. That's Sabaa Tahir, who wrote An Ember in the Ashes quartet. I believe there are 4 in that series, and the one that's coming out is called Air. I'm not sure if this is a part of that series or in the same world as the Ember in the Ashes series, which I don't think is what it's called. I don't know what that series is actually called. But in this one, we're going to follow 3 main characters: an orphan, an outcast, and a prince. And then a killer who's trying to bring this entire empire to its knees. I don't really know much about the actual plot line of Air. I just know Sabaa Tahir has been on my radar recently because I want to reread that earlier series of hers. So when I saw she was coming out with a new one, it was immediate like, oh yeah, I'm curious. I want to read that for sure. Next up is Mistletoe Mystery by Nita Prose. This is the 3rd book, I believe, in the Maid series. I don't know if it's a novella or if it's a full-length novel. I don't care. I want to read it either way. I love Molly the Maid, and I have really loved book 1 and 2 in the series. I just think She's such a unique character. I just adore her, and I love the found family, and I love the mystery in them. I'm eager to read this Christmas one that is still going to take place at the hotel. Molly is still going to get involved with solving the murder. And in this one, Molly's going to have to reevaluate who she can trust after a Secret Santa exchange goes wrong at work. I'm definitely interested in that one, for sure. Still in October, but moving to the 8th, we have the first middle grade on the list, and this is The Bletchley Riddle by Ruta Sepetys. And someone else. I forget who the second author is. I feel bad because I forget the co-author, but Ruta Sepetys is the selling point for me for sure. I have loved all of her YA historical fiction. I think she's a fantastic writer and a lovely person. And I'm very interested in this foray into middle grade that she's taking. This one is going to take place around Bletchley Park, which is where a lot of codebreakers worked during World War II. And we're going to follow two siblings. They try to unravel the mystery of their mother's death. So I'm sure codebreaking is going to be a part of the story. And we follow these two siblings. I think they're teenage siblings, but this is still a middle grade book. So maybe upper middle grade. We'll see. Also on October 8th is the only nonfiction on this list, and it's The Plan by Kendra Adachi. I loved Kendra Adachi's book, The Lazy Genius Way. I also have dabbled in and out of the Lazy Genius Kitchen. I haven't read it from cover to cover yet, but I plan on it. And I also am very interested in her new book coming out, The Plan, which is a self-help-ish type of book about time management. But what I love about Kendra Adachi, I listen to her podcast occasionally and see her on Instagram. She just feels like a friend, and her voice in her nonfiction definitely feels like you're sitting down with somebody who cares about you and is just really smart and has a lot of practical takeaways. And that is what I'm expecting when I read The Plan. So that one's definitely on my radar for this fall. The 7th book on this list and the final one for October comes out on the 22nd of October. And it is Murder in Highbury by Vanessa Kelly. This one is a Jane Austen inspired murder mystery. I think that market is becoming a little more saturated with this type of a book. I have recently read The Murder of Mr. Wickham. I just picked up a cozy mystery where Jane Austen herself is the amateur sleuth. And there's a whole series by Tirzah Price, which I think a new one is coming out of those as well. That's more Pride and Prejudice focus, where Lizzie Bennet becomes a lawyer with her dad and also amateur sleuth. This is the start, I believe it's the start of a series where Emma Knightley is going to be no longer a matchmaker, but now she's going to be sleuthing it out. And Mrs. Elton, the annoying wife of Mr. Elton in Emma, she is the one who is murdered in this story. I really do enjoy Austen-inspired books. It just feels like it's going to be a cozy, fun, delightful read with a little murder sprinkled in. I have 3 books that are coming out in November. The first one is called Snow Drowned by Jennifer Lyle. It comes out on November 5th. This is YA horror. What? YA horror? Krista, who even are you? First of all, I don't read a lot of YA, and I definitely don't read a lot of horror. But the story just sounds so interesting. It definitely feels like a winter read. There's this imaginary island called Fall. On the island of Fall, snow is very sinister. If you get touched by snow, you either are killed off or it makes you crazy. Like, it's just not good to go out in a snowstorm. There's an epic storm headed toward the island of Fall. A lot of people desert, head off to the mainland, but there are a few people who hunker down in the manor of the family who founded the island, the ancestors of the founders of Fall Island. We follow 2 teens. One of them, her dad is a physician, and so she stays with her father, and the other is the son of this family. I don't know if the rest of his family leaves or not, but these 2 teenagers together, I don't know if they're going to work together or if they're antagonistic towards each other. I don't really know if there's going to be a romance. I don't know. But I do know that secrets come out about the island itself, about how it was founded, about people on the island, and our girl, the daughter of the physician, I didn't even write her name down. She potentially has to go out into this snowstorm to get the answers. It just sounds like the perfect read for winter. Because I hate snow, so Sinister Snow just makes sense to me. On November 12th, we have 9.5 in the Keeper of the Lost City series, and I cannot wait. It's been over a year since book 9 came out, And we thought the next one would be book 10 and it would end the series. But there's a section of story that needs to be told from a different character's perspective. And so we're getting 9.5 this year. We're going to have to wait another year probably until book 10. I know Shannon Messenger like had a kid and stuff, the nerve of her to have a life outside of being an author. Who knew? But I am very excited for the next Keeper of the Lost Cities book. I'm sure that once I get my hands on it, Amy from Amy's Bookish Life and I will probably read that one together. But I'm very excited to get Keith's perspective about this side of things, about the events that happened in book 9. We just need to hear things from Keith's perspective. So I'm very excited for that. I think it's going to be good. And it is a necessary part of the story, I believe, before we can get to 10, where it all is going to come to its big final conclusion. Hopefully we don't go beyond 10, but this is going to be 9.5. Comes out on November 12th. Finally in November, I have on the 19th, Christmas with the Queen by Hazel Gaynor. I think it's also Heather Webb. I think it's both of them. Sorry, I only wrote one author down because Hazel Gaynor is the reason I want to read this book. I want to read everything she's written. She has co-authored with Heather Webb a few times, and I haven't read any of their combo books yet. One description that I found said it's The Crown meets When Harry Met Sally and Bridget Jones' Diary. I'm into it. That's all I needed to know. So it's going to take place in England involving the Queen, and that's what I need to know. Christmas with the Queen. Let's do it. I have 3 final books that all come out on December 10th. The first 2 are the only romance on this list. One of them is called How to Get a Life in 10 Dates. This is by Jenny Howe. And it reminds me of a YA book that I read quite a few years ago now, 10 Blind Dates, I think. This is a very similar situation. We follow a plus size protagonist and she is kind of frustrated with her dating life. She's only 25, so I'm like, girl. She's frustrated with the dating scene, and her sister just recently got engaged or is having an engagement party. And so our girl Haley and her best friend Jack, they tried to have a romance. It didn't really work out. They're just best as friends. So Haley and Jack set up this scheme for her to go on these 10 dates and hopefully find a perfect +1 to bring to her sister's engagement party. But of course, I'm assuming Haley and Jack, it's going to be a friends to lovers type of a thing. And Jack's not going to like seeing her going out on all these other dates, or they're going to realize they're perfect for each other or something along those lines. The second one is not friends to lovers, but it's rivals to lovers. We have Not in My Book by Katie Holt. And in this one, we have 2 authors. One of them is Peruvian American and one's a white guy, I think. They both write opposite genres, thinking beach read type of vibes here. They're kind of forced to work together. Yeah, one description called it Beach Read meets The Hating Game. I didn't love The Hating Game. I don't mind rivals to lovers. I like calling them rivals to lovers rather than enemies to lovers. We're not necessarily enemies, but they're 2 rival co-authors and they're forced to work together and romance is going to ensue. And finally, on December 10th, I have kind of a cozy-ish mystery suspense novel called Booked for Murder. Look at this cover. It's so adorable. Just looking at the cover, I'm like, yep, put that on my list. RJ Nelson wrote this one. The plot of this one doesn't really stand out as anything new, but I'm here for it regardless. We follow Madeline, who left her small town to follow her dreams in the big city. Her aunt, who owned this bookshop, passes away, leaves it all to Madeline. Madeline comes back to run the bookshop and has lots of problems learning how to run the bookshop, dealing with people in the town, and then it all culminates with somebody being murdered in the shop. It doesn't feel like a new storyline, but I'm going to try to read it. And that brings me to the end of my list today. I always love taking a look at what books are coming out. These ones are the ones that I found for the last quarter of 2024. I would love to hear from you if you added any of these to your radar, if any are now on your TBR list. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you spending a few minutes of your time with me today. Let me know down in the comments if you added any of these books to your radar or if you have any others that are coming out this fall that you're interested in. I know the next Brandon Sanderson is coming out, but I'm nowhere near ready to read it, so I did not put that on my list. A couple of you who have been waiting for me to finish Words of Radiance are be like, why isn't the Sanderson on there? I know, it's coming out. Along with a few other things that are coming out, but I'm just not ready to read them. I need to get caught up first. So these are the ones that I wanted to talk about today. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in another video very soon. Bye.